Hi, Mark.
Colleen.
Hi, Colleen. Okay, Sandy.
Okay, well, welcome to the IT Capital Plan session. This is our eighth session over the last 2 days, and we have one more day tomorrow. I'd like to thank you all for coming. It's nice to hear that you have a couple different areas represented, not just IT, you have some administrative, so that's really important. This plan is going to take us down the path of the state's direction over the next 5 years, so it's important to have all of that participation. As Evan indicated, this is a 1-hour session. We've been moving at a very quick pace, but we have had time to address questions, and we have typically time at the end to ask additional questions or to mingle and ask follow-up, maybe more informal questions at that time. One of the things we're doing is capturing questions that can immediately be answered, and we expect that we'll be issuing a frequently asked questions site on the web or through some other follow-up activity in emails or other directions. The capital plan is the IT capital plan is the first component of the May 15th report to the legislature. If you haven't already seen that, this is the view that Terry has set forth for the next 5 years for statewide IT. The IT capital plan will culminate in a statewide IT capital plan that gets presented to the legislature along with the governor's budget in January. So this is an activity that's expected to take each of your respective departments, and I know in your State and Consumer Services Agency there's lots of small entities, but it's expected that it will take a more strategic view, a consolidated view of all of the activities for the entire agency. I know Andrew has already been involved working with Terry and Christy and Adrian on this through the various AIO and CIO meetings. So this is a new approach for us, but we believe that with that strategic view, it's going to set the stage. It'll be a path that people will be able to follow, and we're very hopeful that this will set forward the view to the legislature so they understand how all of these efforts interact together, where we're going, and where we can move forward on leveraging existing activities and future efficiencies. If you haven't already read the report, please do so. It's very comprehensive. The second deliverable out of the May 15th report is a project management methodology for the state, and we're just embarking on that project. What we're looking at is a number of the departments who have established project management offices and utilize common project management methodology. Those resources are being used along with what's already established through our state administrative manual and our SIM processes and through the IT oversight framework that's been in existence for several years now. We don't have a date for how that project's going to play out, but we know that it's part of the second deliverable out of the May 15th report, and I'm pretty confident that we're going to meet the due date to the legislature on that. As Terry Takai has discussed with the cabinet representation as well as with the governor's office, she has taken a very strategic view with IT. She believes this is the approach that we need to take to move forward in leveraging our investments. Many of you know, if you've looked at the CIO's website, that the approved projects under construction, there's about 120 projects out there. They're worth over $6 billion over multiple years. It's a tremendous investment, and those are only the projects that were reportable that we know about. So there's a significant IT investment out there that thus far the CIO's office has not been tracking. This process will help get us there. The other thing that I'm sure Andrew has heard repeatedly is the active role that the AIO will take in working within the agency to address the collaboration amongst the departments and to prioritize at the agency level so that when the capital plans come over, they represent the priorities of the entire agency. The goal, as I indicated, is to have a single statewide IT capital plan that gets presented to the legislature along with the governor's budget in January. So it represents the administration's priorities in IT. It also gives the future view, whereas right now, each budget, it's developed kind of a single year focus, sometimes on a multiple year. What we're giving them is a 5-year view. So it helps paint the picture of what activities are forthcoming so they're not surprised and the administration isn't surprised. This is a very ambitious vision. Terry set forth the groundwork to get us there. We're real excited to see you here so you can help contribute in that. One of the other things that it will be different in the way that we're interacting with the departments and the agency, and this will come up a little more clearly in the slides, is that this is a collaborative process. When Terry came on, she recognized that there was a need to have control agencies collaborate. So there's been lots of interaction with the Department of General Services with respect to procurement, with the Department of Technology Services with respect to services, obviously with the Department of Finance, who has the fiscal and funding policy for the state, as well as DPA, SPB, OISPP. We recognize that there's a need to collaborate early on, so the sequential activities of the past will help form kind of a quicker effort, a more strategic view, and it allows for things to be addressed up front so you're not down the road before problems are identified. Another piece of news we're kind of excited about is after Friday, we're no longer going to be at 915 L Street. We're going to be at 1325 J Street. And this will be a great opportunity for us. We've been in this building since Terry came on board. She's been located in another area. So the executives have been in one area. The operations been over here. So as of Monday, we'll all be in that same location. We expect that we're going to have, after we're settled for some time, have an open house to invite you all over to see that. And as we collaborate on these capital plans, we can meet and you can come over. We expect this to be very interactive. I think with that, I'll turn it over to David and Evan.
Welcome. This is your session, so whenever you have a question, just let us know, and we'll do our best to address it at the time. This is where we're heading today. We're going to talk all about the new IT capital planning process. We'll explain how it works, what steps you need to take to develop your plan, and how to submit the plan to the OCIO and the Department of Finance, and then we'll also provide you with some reference information after you return to work if you have any further questions. The IT capital plan really begins with the creation of the statewide Chief Information Officer. Terry Takai has been on board here in California since January, and through the establishment of a statewide Chief Information Officer, that person is really able to take much more of a strategic view of IT here in the state and much more of an enterprise view of IT. And the IT capital plan and the initiatives that we'll be talking about today are part of that effort. One of the responsibilities of the Office of the Chief Information Officer is to approve IT projects, and also the State CIO office has the ability and the authority to suspend projects, to terminate projects, and also to reinstate projects. Sandy mentioned the May 15th report to the legislature. This, as she mentioned, is a rather comprehensive vision for statewide IT for the next 5 years. It includes a number of components, including enterprise architecture, information about IT project management, the unique challenges of implementing extremely large IT projects, how best to leverage state IT to get the best efficiency. And there was additional information in the May 15th report. There was a section in there about developing and retaining the skills of IT professionals, how best to secure information technology assets here in California. And there was also a section on integrated IT governance, of which the IT capital plan was a component. So that's kind of where this comes from. the idea for this comes out of the May 15th report to the legislature. Just wanted to touch on some of the main features of the IT capital plan process. It's really an integrated planning process that integrates business planning with IT planning, and it supports that strategic view of IT that Sandy mentioned and that I just mentioned as part of the responsibility of the Office of the State CIO, and it also provides the state with a statewide IT planning process. It's also a 5-year planning window and a 5-year view, a much longer view than has traditionally been available to us, where previously everything was kind of tied to the annual budget cycle, and we tended to get kind of a single-year view on things. Now, if we expand the single-year view past year 1, it's much easier to see where we're going, where we're heading, and how best to get there when you take a much longer view. The IT capital plan process really kind of links up and aligns IT with the business goals of the organization, departments and agencies, and it helps us to align IT investments with enterprise architecture standards and really get much more of a statewide perspective on information technology. The business really sets the direction for technology here in the state, and we expect that technology supports and follows the direction that business sets. Part of the process of the IT capital plan is to facilitate a conceptual approval process. It's kind of a new idea for us. We'll have a chance to weigh in on IT project proposals that come forward from departments and agencies and engage with departments and agencies and provide a conceptual approval, whereas previously things kind of came over to us in a big document that you had developed perhaps on your own, and then it came over and then everybody started to look at it. Here's a chance to engage on projects and ideas early at the conceptual stage and to receive approval for it at the conceptual stage. This also introduces much more of a collaborative process, and the collaboration we expect will run not just between the OCIO and your department and agency, but within departments, within agencies, and also working with the Department of Finance and other control agencies so that we together can develop a statewide IT capital plan. As I mentioned earlier, the IT capital plan introduces a conceptual agreement process and a conceptual approval process where you identify proposed IT projects. The OCIO weighs in on them. When we reach agreement, then would be the time to produce the FSR. Here's how it works. Agencies and departments are the ones who identify what the project proposals are. We expect that the agency and department IT capital plans are going to be the basis for a statewide IT capital plan that is presented to the legislature, supported by the governor's budget, and updated on an annual basis and more frequently as needed. We also expect, as Sandy said, this is the first year of the IT capital plan. We expect that the process is going to evolve over time and improve over time. There may be a couple of rough edges here in year 1. Right now, it's kind of a combination of what the current IT project approval process is and the new IT capital plan process. We are going to be asking for more information in year 2, but for year 1, we wanted to make it as easy as possible, and we're kind of limiting the information that we're requesting. Year 2, there'll be more information asked about infrastructure, how specific funds are spent on technology. We'll also be asking in year 2 about non-reportable projects. But here in year 1, I just wanted to clarify that we're only talking about reportable projects. And we're going to use this information for future planning efforts. As part of our new approach, we kind of wanted to give you a comparison of the previous process for approving IT projects with the new IT capital plan. Previously, as I mentioned, things had much more of a single-year focus. Now we're taking a 5-year strategic view on IT planning. Previously, things started with the big FSR document as the initial notification of a project. Now we can engage with departments and agencies at a project proposal level and provide a conceptual agreement at the project proposal level before moving on or forward with an FSR. Previously, you had to submit lots of paper. Now you can submit this information electronically through a searchable PDF document. Previously, things tended to kind of silo out into separate project efforts. Now we have an ability and a goal of of getting much more of an enterprise-wide view of IT, and where previously things also tended to separate into specific departments and agencies, here we have much more of a statewide perspective for IT. There are two processes to the statewide IT capital plan. There is one process for agencies and their constituent departments, and then there is another process for departments that aren't affiliated with an agency. The processes are somewhat similar, but we'll talk about the differences. The agencies are really expected to be the entities that coordinate the preparation of the IT capital plan. The constituent departments within the agency are going to be identifying project proposals and bring that information and those proposals forward to the agency. The agency will then consolidate those into a single agency-wide consolidated coordinated IT capital plan. And as part of that consolidation, the agency is expected to help to identify any areas of overlap or duplication so that everything is efficient moving forward. Agencies will pick and select and prioritize the IT project proposals that are presented to them by the constituent departments. And in doing so, they're going to look for initiatives that cross interdepartmental or interagency boundaries and link up with other statewide initiatives. And then the agency, after it prepares its single plan, then submits it to the OCIO and to the Department of Finance. Electronically, of course. This just kind of summarizes everything. Departments will propose IT capital plan proposals, and they'll submit it to the agency. The agency will select and prioritize those proposals and then put everything together and submit it to the Office of the State CIO and Finance. We're recommending that departments and agencies establish internal due dates so that everything can reach the OCIO and Finance by October 1st, 2008. And I think that there has been some discussion about the internal due date for the IT capital plan.
August 1st.
Sounds great. We've talked to several other departments and agencies, and I think August 1st is the earliest one.
Don't say that.
But obviously that indicates, just a tremendous level of planning and coordination. So I really applaud you.
Let me ask you a question on
Yes.
priorities. The difficulty that I'm having is that, first of all, our agency, as you all know, each department really does something different. It's not like Health and Human Services that basically your focus is health. We have Franchise Tax Board that does tax, BCA that does licensing. So if priorities are coming from, let's say, franchise, and they have 1, 2, 3, 10, right? And then same thing with BCA. How do you see that for us, for agency, to say that BCA is maybe priority 1 and franchise priority 2, or vice versa? Can we go with like 1A, 1B, and that kind of stuff, or it's very difficult for us to.
It's a bit of a challenge since there are different functions.
Absolutely.
There's another agency, BT&H, faces similar challenges.
Agencies that are like this. How do you see?
We expect there to be some flexibility there. I don't know if Sandy wants to weigh in on this.
I think, yes, we'd like to understand what the priorities are. In terms of the flexibility, of course, we're going to consider such things as, is there a deadline? Is there a mandate? Is there a legislative issue? In terms of an overall coordinated agency view, though, I think there needs to be focus on what are the activities across the agency. And if the investment in one area is so onerous, is there going to be the ability to carry out the other one? So what's the effect to each one of those in terms of their priorities if they didn't move forward, if they became a lesser priority? But I'd like to have some follow-up discussions on that, because I recognize you're very diverse, and I know that franchise has its own board that it goes through for prioritization. So we'll actually work with you on that.
So the process for departments that are not affiliated with an agency is somewhat similar. They will identify the IT project proposals, again trying to build a consolidated enterprise department wide view. Then they will select and prioritize those proposals that they want to make part of their IT capital plan, and then they will submit that to the OCIO and the Department of Finance. And again, this just kind of summarizes that process. It's very similar to the agency process where departments put everything together, aggregate it, prioritize it, and then submit it to the OCIO and the Department of Finance. Again, we're suggesting internal due dates be established for the preparation of department IT capital plans so that they can reach the OCIO and the Department of Finance by October 1st, 2008. Here's how to put your plan together. As you saw in some of the earlier slides, we're really expecting everything to align to the business, and we're expecting IT to support the business and that IT be driven by the business. So we're expecting that IT capital plans are going to align to the business as well, and we're looking for business-based IT proposals. Step one would be to really look at the organization's strategic plans, get in touch with the goals and the objectives of the organization, also to review the IT strategic plan, and to review the organization's enterprise architecture. And then select those IT investments and project proposals that best support the goals of the organization moving forward. Step two would be to put the plan together, to fill out all the information that's being requested and assemble the IT capital plan, and then after the agency aggregates everything, submit it to the Department of Finance and to the OCIO by October 1st, 2008. For departments, it's, well, actually, we'll give you a little bit of detail about what's in the agency plan package. It begins with a list of the constituent departments that are associated with the agency, and it also asks for summary information about the agency's summarized efforts in enterprise architecture, strategic planning, information security, your efforts in workforce development, workforce planning, and succession planning, and also project management, portfolio management, and IT governance.
What are you looking for on the strategic plan from agency? Because again, because of our diversity, it's very hard to say that we have 3 goals. But we have 2 goals: take care of the consumers and state.
Sounds like a good answer to me.
So, write it down.
It's great when you can answer your own questions. We all appreciate
That's
that.
what I'm,
Yeah.
seriously though.
No, seriously.
It's like, if it can be at least this year as simple as that, I can see this doable. But I can't go create a strategic plan for the agency.
Of course not.
At this point in 2 weeks.
It's really a statement of the organization's strategic plan, so that we can make sure that things are aligned, and so that you can better align to the strategic plan for the organization. As I mentioned earlier, part of the agency IT capital plan package is a list of the approved IT project proposals that the departments have proposed. And the agency really is only going to be sending forward those projects that it supports and wants to move forward as part of the IT capital plan. And the criteria for selecting which ones, the criteria really has to be a business-driven criteria, which IT project proposals best support the business. The department plan is very similar. It begins with a statement of the organization's business goals and objectives. It also requests information about IT infrastructure, and then there is information being requested about existing projects and also proposed projects, and we'll give you a little bit of detail, the high points of the information that's being requested for proposed IT projects. We're expecting that the agency is going to be ranking the IT project proposals, and we're asking that every IT project proposal have a single unique rank. We're not expecting to see 3 #1 priority projects all sharing the same priority. I know that this can sometimes be a challenge, but that's what we're hoping. So that this document really becomes a vehicle for making choices and really helping you plan. We're also asking for information about a feasibility study for a project, when you would expect to submit it. And we're asking for some high-level cost and funding information. And then, today happens to be July 15th, which is the official due date for special project reports. So if you are submitting a special project report for an approved project and the cost is one of the items in the SPR that's changing. Please, in the IT capital plan, just let us know what those new costs are and let us know what the last approved project costs are.
And similarly, if you're planning on submitting a feasibility study report today as well, you would just include that in the summary sheet of proposed projects. You don't need to complete the detailed survey information for conceptual approval. That should already be in the feasibility study report, so we don't need you to do it again.
Here's a bit more information about the information that we'll be requesting for proposed IT projects. We'd like to know what the start date of the proposed project would be, how long it's going to last. Let us know whether it utilizes any existing infrastructure. Also explain any relation to any other proposed IT project or to an existing project, and also explain any consequences of not doing the proposed project. The department plan package, in addition to the information that's being requested up front and the proposed project information, also includes 4 appendices that cover topics of enterprise architecture, information security, workforce development, succession planning, and workforce planning, and project management, IT governance, and portfolio management. You saw earlier in the presentation where we talked about the agency's responsibility for summarizing the plans. This is really where the detailed information on these topics come from. And these are also topics that were addressed as part of the May 15th report to the legislature. So we're just gathering this information to use in future planning efforts. After you've prepared your plan, it's time to submit it to the OCIO and the Department of Finance, and you would place on top the agency approval transmittal page, then the agency plan questionnaire, which is kind of the summary of the plans below it, and then attachments for each constituent department that's being supported in the plan, and then submit that to the OCIO and the Department of Finance electronically in searchable PDF. For departments that aren't affiliated with an agency, the package is very similar. On top is the executive approval transmittal page, followed by the IT capital plan questionnaire, each one of the appendices, and then that gets submitted electronically to the OCIO and the Department of Finance. All of the IT capital plans are due to the Department of Finance by, what's that? October 1st, 2008. I was waiting for you to just jump in and shout it out at me. That's when we're expecting to receive them. You've already heard that there is an internal due date that's established for your department. We're really looking forward to much more of a collaborative partnership relationship between the OCIO and departments and agencies in preparing and engaging and discussing all of the IT capital plans. We've got links to more information. It's in your handout. You actually have the specific links. Here we're just mentioning that there are links to all of this information on the OCIO website. There is a link to the Management Memo 0807, which introduces and initiates the IT capital plan. There's a link to the SIM Section 57 that contains the IT capital plan. Now today in the handouts, we're just handing you out the forms for departments and agencies to fill out, but online we have full instructions for completing these forms. There's also a link to the May 15th supplemental report to the legislature. Sandy recommended that you take a look at it, and I think you'll find it very informative. There's also information about specific OCIO staff assignments, and we'll also make our training materials available to you today, both the slide presentation and the handouts. Those will go out later in the week.